My name is Nina Zapala. This is a place I talk about spiritual personality typing. I'm bringing a new consciousness to the old paradigms of personality typing from the 1940s. I teach and work in Myers-Briggs, so this is the foundation that I use. But I bring a new consciousness to it as I talk about personality typing from a spiritual point of view. I believe spiritual personality typing is a roadmap to your true self. Today I'm going to discuss the hidden spiritual personality traits that can unlock your new beginning. I say this with much confidence, as these are the exact tools I use to navigate my own life tsunami. So you'll find on this channel that I only teach from what I know, from what I've experienced, because then I know it's coming from my truth. But this topic is very near and dear to me because I am an overthinker. Are you an overthinker? Raise your hand. Do you overanalyze, overdo, overshop, overeat, blah, blah, blah? All these overdoing things that we're doing, right? What that stems from, there's an imbalance in your organic human beingness. I believe we're human beings having a spiritual experience. So we need our logical framework. We even need our ego, right? But what we've done in our society, especially in Western societies, is overcompensate, overdevelop, overreach on just the egoic, logical aspects. And we've come not to trust, or maybe we ignore, or maybe we're just not even aware of the spiritual aspects of our humanness. And I believe we have a spirit mind, the higher conscious self, right? The divine spark within that fuels, and I believe is the greater aspect of us. And we should rely more on this aspect than the logical aspects. I don't know about you, but for me, when I've made really good decisions, when I've taken steps, and I've trusted my gut instincts, it's flow. I'm not saying there hasn't been, little hiccups along the way, but typically it takes me to the path forward. And now on this journey, it's taking me to my new beginning. My new beginning is my love for spiritual personality typing. I want to help founders and women in particular, because I talked to hundreds and hundreds of women, and we all basically said the same thing. We feel empty inside because we've become so reliant on the logical aspect of selves, and we've become reliant on convention, which is steeped in old school patriarchal paradigms. So we've come to use that instead of tapping into our gut, that divine spark, that some call it inner genius. How about responsive intuition? It responds to you, not you responding out into the world. You see that difference of that? So I want to talk about that today. So if you're on a journey, you're questioning, you're overdoing, overthinking, overanalyzing, overwhelmed, the whole thing, I think this is really going to help you start seeing yourself in a new way. Yes, it's going to challenge old conventions. I'm not here to stay in the old. If you want reinvention, if you want new beginnings, you can't stay in what you know, because what you know is keeping you where you are. It's like driving a car from your rear view mirror. How are you going to go forward? You can't, right? It's a mirror, but it's a mirror backwards, not a mirror forwards. I want to help you go forwards. So let's talk about this. I'm going to try to make this, I've been studying this for 12 years now. So to me, it's second nature, but I know for a lot of people, it's not. So I want to explain it. And this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this video, is I want us to raise our consciousness about personality typing. It's much different. And now it's much more expansive because we as a collective are more open to understanding that we are energy frequencies. And people are going to go, oh, Nina, what the hell does that mean? I'm going to tell you what that means. So let me give you an example. Let's just say you're at a party, right? And you're having a great time, and the party's going really well, and yeah, this is great. And then all of a sudden, this person walks in, and it's like, whoa, what happened? The energy in the room just goes from, oh, everybody's light, there's joy, everyone's, to this. And you just want to leave. What are you attributing that to? It's energy. Your personality traits have energy, each one of them. In fact, I believe we choose our personality type for our soul's mission in this lifetime. Again, this is through the lens of Nina Zappala. Take what you want and leave the rest, okay? But I believe it serves you. It has great purpose. So anything that has great purpose and that can give you a great expansion of yourself, great understanding, awakening, awareness, an actualization of yourself, we should know it. And we should know it intimately. So I want you to start understanding that your traits, from a traditional and spiritual, all have energy attached to them. Okay? I'm an ENTP, and I'm going to go through this. And what that means is I'm extroverted, I'm intuitive, I'm a thinker, and I'm a perceiver. Most of us understand these four types, these four letter traits. Most of us. And if you don't, please get into this and start understanding this. I wrote a book on it, Unpack Your Personality. Let your inner guide be your travel guide. It's a great place to start. Find it on Amazon. What these traits do and how you use them, though, persists on what I call, and what is known in the industry in Myers-Briggs, as a functional stack. I'm going to make this as easy as possible for you to understand this. All that means is a functional stack is the order in which you use your traits, or the preferences, right? It's really an ordering of traits. Why I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm not really into the hierarchy of this. Yes, we do use our traits in a specific manner, yet that's not the only way we use them. Your traits are very relational within that stack. So it's not just this line that goes from top to bottom. No, it weaves, it spins, it goes up, it goes down, it goes out. It's more of a spiral, I would say, than a hierarchical, like a line from A to B. I'm just going to start there. Let's get into the traditional aspects of your functional stack. Okay, let me just flip up my computer here real quick, because I don't want to forget this. So in traditional speak, we have a dominant trait. That is just your primary trait. It's the trait that you use the most. Okay, so it's very important. You should know that. It's usually very conscious, and actually it can be overused. And I get the reason why they call it dominant, because it dominates. It can dominate your whole personality type. What's that word? It's almost like a, I'll think of it, I'll come back to it. I'll think of it and come back to it. Your secondary trait, okay, is auxiliary. This is a trait, right, that sits under that dominant trait. It is too highly conscious, right? So this is a trait you use second. So most often with your primary trait. Now, coming up next is what they call a tertiary trait. It's third in your stack. A lot of people aren't aware of it. I call it a midlife gift, because it comes on as you reach maturity, and it adds so much to your life. You should know this trait. I think it's one of the most important traits in that stack, okay? And then your last trait in the stack is what they call your inferior trait. I don't believe it's inferior. That's why I've kind of renamed these, and you'll see what I did in a minute here. I don't believe it's inferior. It is probably the least that you're going to be conscious of. I believe you should be conscious of it. I don't believe divine intelligence is random. I don't believe your soul is random. If it came here and using your specific personality, it uses all of your traits to teach you. Inferior doesn't mean it's lesser than. It's just where it is in the stack. So be mindful of that. Even when you're not on my site, but any site, when you go into Myers-Briggs, be mindful of that, okay? And the meanings people are putting, the words they're giving these traits. Your traits are sacred, all right? And so that lets me jump into, I've revised the functional stack from a spiritual point of view. Here's why I did that. Because I believe when you just are so focused and only using this logical, egoic side of your brain, right? You have not tapped into that gut, that intuitive, responsive, intelligent beingness that's within you. The inner genius, right? The spark of God within you, right? The great I don't care what you call it. It doesn't matter what you call it. What I know, it is the higher conscious self, right? And that higher conscious self has access to the universal source. So, hey, I want to go that road. I want access to that. That's unlimited. That's steeped in love and kindness and imagination. It's co-creative, right? It doesn't understand fear and competitiveness and greed and violence. The egoic mind understands that. But see, we've gotten so lopsided in that, you know? That's not healthy. That's why so many of us, I include myself, I had it all. I had the job, I had the 6 figures, had the car, had the relationship, had all this stuff, right? And I still felt something was missing. I felt empty. It's because I was not connecting into the spiritual aspects of myself. So for me, I'm an ENTP. I see patterns, possibilities. I like to look at things and say, well, this could be better. So this is why I created spiritual personality typing. So from the perspective of a functional stack, from a spiritual point of view, I believe your dominant trait is the North Star. It illuminates your path forward. Pay attention to that trait. It is your purpose. It is the potential. It's what the soul uses to guide you in its evolution in this lifetime. It is a very important trait. The secondary trait we talked about, remember we talked about auxiliary from a traditional standpoint. Now we're talking about, now I want to speak to that as harmonious. Totally different. See, I say harmonious because this trait is in harmony. It balances, right? And supports that North Star. So I'll give you an example. For me, my North Star is extroverted intuition. So, as I said, possibilities, opportunities, innovation, ideas. I seek patterns. I see what most people don't see, and a very, it's in here, but it's also externally because I'm seeing it, I'm taking it in and going, ooh, and then right. But the harmonious aspect of this trait, which is brings the balance to all the seeing and possibilities and opportunities, that runs wild in me. That's why I overthink. But when I bring it all together and I take time to slow down and tap into my intuitive thinking trait, which is deep, which is also, I believe, it's more intuitive than it is logical. Even though it's a thinking trait, even though I make decisions from that, my best decisions are made from this intuitive space of introverted thinking. We all have intuition. Doesn't matter if you have an intuitive thinking trait or not. We all have intuition. We all need to tap into this. That's why I call this trait the harmonious trait, because it brings balance into the North Star. So all those things I'm gathering and all the possibilities and all the opportunities, this trait comes in and says, whoa, let's think about the best ideas, narrow this down, and start focusing on that idea, and then innovate from there. Because innovating all ideas without taking action is it's just a waste of time. Trust me, I know. I do it a lot. So I use that trait, and I tap into that a lot. I'm like, am I reflecting enough? Am I trusting that gut? Am I listening to my intuitive thinking? Okay. The next trait we said, remember we said, there's a tertiary trait. I think of this, not that it's the third in the stack, and it reaches, it hits you when you reach like midlife or when you reach maturity. I call that trait the emerging trait. It has a great energy consciousness. It emerges, right? And in the aspect of your lifetime, when you kind of reach middle age, you're like, you kind of want to start building legacy, right? Doing what really matters. It's a very contemplative time in your life. This trait is supportive of that harmonious trait and the North Star. It sits here, so it touches the harmonious trait, and the harmonious trait touches your North Star. So see how they're engaging with one another. It's not just this line that you're just floating by. It's engaging, right? So my emerging trait is extroverted feeling, which is great because now it gives me empathy and compassion for what I'm creating. I'm not just thinking and innovating. Now I have this other beautiful paradigm, feeling. Not only am I feeling more, even though it's extrovert, I extrovert out, but it's also like a triangle. It's helping me, like I said, be more empathetic and seeing other people's feelings, because my personality trait, if this trait's not developed, I'm a steamroller, man. I'm intense. I'm like a dog with a bone. Boom. I've been called arrogant, obnoxious, intense. Yeah, they probably have fit because I've probably done all those things. But I'm learning to get more into those spiritual traits, that higher energy conscious, and be aware not only of my own feelings, which is very important. It's like that party, right? You feel that feeling, that gut feeling, like I need to get out of here, or this doesn't work for me, or this isn't the right decision, or even though the money's good and this is good and this is good, there's something off about this. Just trust your feelings, trust your gut, make a gut decision, not just on logic, right? And then the last trait we talked about was inferior, and I don't like that word, so I called it opposing. Now, is that a better word? It is in my logical mind, logical mind, but the way I view it is opposing. And I'll have it. There's a caveat to this, because it is spiritually inclined. Opposing suggests that it opposes that North Star. Mine does. I have introverted sensing, which is very traditional, right? It likes to take what was and bring it into the now, where my extroverted intuition is all about, no, I want to go in the future. I want to see the possibilities. I want the opportunities. And this other trait's going, nope, we need to be here. We need to be what's conventional, what is. I want to take your history and bring it into the now. Well, these two fight. The thing is, you have to look, it's like carrying a stick. A stick has both ends. You can't just break a stick and say, well, okay, it doesn't work that way. A stick's always going to have both ends. Your personality is going to have both ends. It's kind of like in astrology, your north node and your south node. A lot of this stuff is parallel with all these other identity paradigms. But it's a thing that you have to understand, examine, and embody. So what I've seen with this challenge, I've seen this challenge as, ooh, this is insightful, because I can take what I've learned from the past, bring it into the now, and marry it with the possibilities, opportunities. So I'm not repeating mistakes, right? And plus, I love thrifting. I don't know why. I think that's part of that trait. It's like you love the old things. You just go back. That's a little sidebar. But so it shows up in your personality in different ways. You have to observe this. This is why this part of the paradigm, the spiritual point of view, is a higher conscious way of looking at yourself. You're not just stuck in the ego and logic. You're looking at your North Star trait, your harmonious trait, your emerging trait, right? And where the opposition comes in. And you see this as part of your beingness, and you observe it, And then when things start clicking in, when you're sabotaging, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're like, oh, that's that trait. Or, oh, I need to rectify this because this trait's challenging me. What is it trying to help me realize about my North Star trait? Right? All the traits are relational. All of them. My intuitive thinking, when I'm thinking, if I get too much into my head, jump out of your head and what are you feeling? Just put the thinking down and go, oh, what am I feeling? They all work in partnership with one another, not through a straight line, but in this way, right? Because they all touch one another. So when something's touching one another, the energy is seeping into all aspects. It's bringing up a higher conscious energy. So I wanted to teach you that, and I wrote a blog about that, and I've got journal prompts in the blog, and I've gone into some other things, some other tools you can use, and I've explained it in a little bit of a different way so you can see things from a written standpoint and a video standpoint. But I really, really hope this helps you to re-see personality type, what it can be. We're in very transformative times. We just can't rely on the old. The old is breaking down. And if you're paying attention, which I know you are, if you're listening to me, you're paying attention. Even if you're not paying attention, you're seeing that things are breaking. The world just isn't working like it is. You're not working like you used to. You know? So be attuned to that. You know, be open-minded to shift some perspective. Really look at yourself. This is work, my friends. This is work. It takes work. It takes commitment. But if you want to leave your mark, if you want a new beginning, and you know, I can change my life. Totally changed my life. And if you want that for yourself, then you have to start thinking differently. And thinking differently starts with knowing your personality type. I'm not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater. I know on certain terms. I use those traditional paradigms to build upon the spiritual paradigms. So now I have these two in partnership now, not divergent, not working opposite. No, they're working together. So it's a totally different way to look at personality typing. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to learn more, like I said, pick up my book, Unpack Your Personality, Let Your Inner Guide Be Your Travel Guide. It's a fun book to read. It's a little deep. I go deep because I'm all about teaching you how to be true to yourself. But it's fun because you learn things about like how you vacation, how you show up on vacation, best places to travel, how you show up as a solo traveler, how you show up as a parent, in a relationship. There's a lot of good golden nuggets in there that I think you'd really enjoy. Plus, it's expansive. It's all about self-discovery, self-awakening, and learning your true self. I also do one-on-one sessions with people. These sessions they're deep, right? I don't follow a script because your personality, even though I'm an ENTP, I'm different from an ENTP you might know. You know why? Based on my life experiences, I'm going to be different. And based on my soul path. My soul wants to evolve in this lifetime. So when I leave this planet, I'm ready to go and tackle what the next thing is, if you believe that. But I believe we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So if this excites you to learn where you're going, just learn about yourself. Get fully immersed in your true self. These sessions do that. And I go very deep. I just started to touch on it here, but I go deep within those sessions. Right? So just go to my website, book a call, 15 minutes. Let's just see if we even jive together. Because, again, I'm going to use my feelings. And if we don't jive together, we're not working together. Because it's not going to work for you and it's not going to work for me. So I trust that. You trust yourself. If not, there's so many resources out on YouTube, on Myers-Briggs. There's great books to read. But there's one book I like, David Kersey, Please Understand Me. It's a really good book. So if you want to start there, start there. There's so many resources. Plus, I have 200 blogs. Have at it. I've done this for you. I hope you enjoy this. And I'm going to do a couple more shorts to end out the weekend. And please comment, email me with a question, right? I'm here for you. I hope you enjoyed this liberating lesson I learned going through my own tsunami, which helped me with my new beginnings. I want that for you. All for now, Nina.